Hi, everyone, and welcome to Keeping It Real Caregiving on Air. I'm Julia Yarbo. Today, we are diving deep talking about caregiving and handling a situation of dementia. Our guest is Alga Jones. She is a professional news industry leader. She has been a producer with CNN and also a producer with the Black News Channel. Alga, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Julia, for having me.
So you have a lot on your plate. Give us a little background of what your situation is as a family caregiver and also a professional in an extremely demanding, high-profile career.
Before COVID, it was a lot more challenging because it was hard to work remote. So literally before I found out mommy was sick before COVID, like in 2018. And at the time I was working in Atlanta. And so I went to Florida. She was living in Florida. I was living in Atlanta. I went to check on her, had to end up selling my house in Atlanta, had to end up selling her house in Florida and to get her closer to family in rural South Georgia. And so, that was the first challenge, figuring out how I was going to deal with her, whether I was going to put her in a facility or whether I was going to be the primary caregiver for her. And so all the while I've got people in the family and friends telling me, "Oh, just stay off. Don't work. Take care of your mother." Well, my background is not in medical care. My background's not in the health industry. So while I made a valiant effort to care for her,
Mhm.
there was a lot lacking. And, the situation became more detrimental to her than helpful to her. So I had to have outside help come in.
What were some of the key things that you started to recognize that really made you say to yourself, I am not a care professional and mom needs different type of help?
Just the combativeness, like I would try to help her do stuff and she would get upset. Like, don't help me, I can do it. My mom is a great cook. Well, she started burning food. She started forgetting to turn off the stove. She started My mom was like a walking GPS, Julia. I used to call her from Atlanta to ask her how to go places, and she would tell me over the phone, go south on this street, and all that was gone. Paying to pay her bills online. Simple stuff that she had been doing for years and years and years. Not really remembering that people in the family were dead. Asking about people that were dead.
Tell me a little bit about your mom. What's her name? How old is she? What is it that, that just sparks that smile in your heart when you think of your mom?
Mommy's name is Algae, like the seaweed. That's what she was named. But they called her doll baby, because she looked like a doll baby when she was born. So that's her nickname, doll. And my mom is fiercely independent. She's smart. Like, she had the wherewithal to drop hints and tell me something's not right with me. She started telling me, like, I can't remember how to do certain things. I think something's wrong with me, because she was so smart, because she was getting lost.
Mm.
The person who never gets lost anywhere started getting lost. Um, she started losing her keys. As a matter of fact, there's a set of keys missing around the house now, and I don't know where they are. They were here a couple days ago, so we're about to go on a scavenger hunt for those. So just little things like that was so out of character for her. My mother is as smart as a whip. Like, she had the wherewithal to not make that much money, but build a nest egg for her future. So I'm actually able to keep her lifestyle pretty steady because of planning that she made and because of things that she put in place 20, 30 years ago.
How difficult has this been for you as a professional career woman? We're both in the news industry. This is a demanding field, but our parents come first. What has been that transition for you?
It's difficult because I have to wear two hats. Like, yeah, I can't show weakness. We're in an industry where we can't show weakness. But if I get a phone call from the house, I immediately go into panic mode. Like, what's wrong? Why are you calling me? The situation happened where the nurse called me one day and said, mommy had a seizure. Well, the doctor didn't tell me that was part of the illness. So we had no idea. We all panicked. And I live in a pretty rural area, so that's a 45-minute drive for me. So it's always a huge undertaking for me if I have to, you know, leave work and come home, and what is that going to look like? Is there going to be a stigma behind me leaving work because my job is so demanding, it's so high profile, you know, because a lot of people, like I said, just put their parents in homes. And she made me promise not to do that. Don't put me in a home. I want to stay in my house. I want to die in my house. And talking about death, you know, I'm an only child. So my mom, and I'm not married. So my mom is all I have. That's my family.
What's the one key thing that you would want to say to policymakers? There's more awareness about our aging population, but what else do we need to take into consideration?
Well, like they just had this Alzheimer's treatment that the FDA approved. That was super, super, super expensive. Something that Medicare. My mom is on a fixed income. She's on Medicare. There's no way she will be able to pay for that treatment that is supposed to be revolutionary. Like she probably would try something out, but it's so expensive. So if I had to say one thing to lawmakers is make the treatments more affordable. Also, the stigma behind Alzheimer's, because when we first started going and we found a neurologist near us, the first thing he said to me is, well, she's not going to get any better. That's not what you want to tell a caretaker. That's not what you want to tell a loved one grappling with this, because there's a change of mindset for the caregiver and the family just as well as it is for the patient. So doctors, a lot of times I've been finding that their bedside manner is so horrendous because they deal with this every day, because they have so much pressure on them. The narrative around it needs to be a little gentler, a little more positive. You know, this is one situation where I wouldn't mind it being handled with kid gloves.
Top three things that you've learned in this journey in the last couple of years that could be helpful for somebody else who's just entering.
Build a team. You can't do it all by yourself. You should not try to, because it's going to drive you crazy. Don't blame yourself. I went through the first year blaming myself because I missed warning signs. Well, I lived in a whole other city. There was no way I could realistically catch the warning signs because I didn't live with her every day at the time. Number 3 would be to make sure you take time for yourself. I like to take spa trips. I haven't taken a spa trip since mommy got diagnosed.
And when was that?
And right before 2018. So it was like in October 2018. So make sure you take time out for yourself.
Any parting thoughts for folks? I mean, this is such a tough topic, but I believe that every little bit of information that we can share with each other is valuable.
My mom is only 21 years older than me. I know some people whose parents are 30 years older than them, 40 years older than them. This is something that you should discuss with your parents early on. And despite everything I've gone through, Julia, I still don't have my will done and ready to go. So the process of going through her will and getting the power of attorney and all of that, it was very difficult because right now, mommy can't sign her own name. She can't do that anymore. So I have to sign on her. I have to make decisions on her behalf. So start having those discussions early with your parents, especially if they're older.
Good advice. Good advice. Angela, thank you so much for sharing. And of course, I'm going to say that the entire Keeping It Real Caregiving family extends a big hug and support to you and to your mom. Wonderful woman. She raised a good, smart, kind, loving daughter. So thank you. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Keeping It Real Caregiving on Air. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Julia Yarbo Media Group and subscribe to our newsletter at keepingitrealcaregiving.substack.com. Plus, be sure to visit our website, keepingitrealcaregiving.com.